Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Broken Worship Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Mitchell. I'm very excited about today's episode. I'm going to be interviewing my new friend here, Eric Weber, with the Union Gospel Mission. Um, so if you've been following me on the Broken Worship Podcast, you know the core of the Broken Worship Podcast is to show love to people who don't feel comfortable in a church setting, and to call the Christians to go back to the fundamentals of the greatest commandment. With all that's going on with America right now, with this election year and all the political division, I just feel like so many people feel lost and broken. And I feel like we need the unity. We need to go back to unity with God's love and God's grace in our lives. So for the past couple of years or so, my dad has been working as a warehouse manager for a company called Volunteers of America. Through that, he met Eric, which is the CEO of a nonprofit called the Union Gospel Mission, which is an organization that serves the homeless community in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. If you have been following the Broken Worship podcast or have read any of my books, I often share that as Christians, we are commanded to have a heart for others and have a heart for the marginalized and people in need. I believe with the nonprofit, with the Union Gospel Mission, is truly being the hands and feet of Jesus by loving and serving the marginalized and people that are in need. Um, I asked my dad if he could help me get in contact with Eric of the Union Gospel Mission by giving him a couple of my books and asking if he would be willing to come on my podcast and talk about the nonprofit organization. And I am honored that he said yes, is willing to meet with me. He actually is hosting me at the Union Gospel Mission today, which is awesome. So this is Eric Weber. I'm excited to get this interview started, but I did want to start off with reading a few Bible verses. Um, so this is from Matthew chapter 25, verses 34 through 46. Then the king will say to those at his right hand, "Come, you that are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you took care of me. I was in prison, and you visited me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry and gave you food, or thirsty and gave you something to drink? And when was it that we saw you a stranger and welcomed you, or naked and gave you clothing? And when was it that we saw you sick or in prison and visited you?" And the king will answer them, "Truly I tell you, just as I did it to one of the least of these who are members of my family, you did it to me." Then he will say to those at his left hand, "You that are accursed, depart from me into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not welcome me. Naked, and you did not give me clothing. Sick and in prison, and you did not visit me." Then they will also answer him, "Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry or thirsty, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and you did not take care of you?" And then he will answer me, "Truly, I tell you, just as you did not do it to one of the least of these, um, you did not do it to me." And these will go away into eternal punishment, uh, but the righteous into eternal life. Luke chapter 10, 25 through 37. Just then a lawyer stood up and to test Jesus. "Teacher," he said, "what must I do to inherit eternal life?" He said to him, "What is written in the law? What do you read there?" He answered him, You shall love the Lord your God with all of your heart and with all of your soul and with all of your strength and with all of your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. But he said to him, You have given the right answer. Do this and you will live. But wanting to justify himself, asked Jesus, And who is my neighbor? Jesus replied, A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell into the hands of robbers who stripped him, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. Now, by chance, a priest was going down that road, and when he saw him, he passed on the other side. So, likewise, a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by him on the other side. But a Samaritan, while traveling, came near him, and when he saw him, he was moved with pity. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, having poured oil and wine on them. Then he put him on his own animal, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii, gave him to the innkeeper, and said, Take care of him, and when I come back, I will repay you whatever more you spend. Which of these three do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of the robbers? He said, The one who showed him mercy. Jesus said to him, Go and do likewise. 1 Corinthians 13, 1 through 3. If I speak in the tongues of mortals and of angels, but do not have love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give away all my possessions, and if I hand over my body so that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. So thanks for listening. I believe these are such powerful verses and are vital to the Christian faith in our lives to strive to live a life for Christ. With that being said, I'm excited to have Eric join us. Thanks for joining and inviting me to the Union Gospel Mission.
Hey, you're welcome. Glad you're here.
So for those who may not know you, would you be able to introduce yourself and your role at the Union Gospel Mission?
Yep. My name is Eric Pineapple Weber. I go by Eric Pineapple. I came to the mission in 2019 in a crisis. The mission was failing, and so I took over then, and we was going to go bankrupt and we were going to close. And so what I ended up doing was just pleading with God and said, keep his place open. And we went ahead and just started doing the best we could to keep our doors open.
Awesome. Could you go into detail about what the Union Gospel Mission is and what is the goal or the heart behind the organization?
Yeah, so the Union Gospel Mission is a mission that takes care of homeless people. But it's a different spin on things, because when they get here and they're homeless and they're now here, they're no longer homeless, they're sheltered, because we do food, clothing, all the 9 yards. We give them everything, right? So anything that they need. But our biggest deal is caring for the needs of the community with compassion by sharing the hope of Jesus Christ. And then we shelter, we clothe, we counsel, we have case management, we have four different directions they can go in paths to get better. And we have sobriety. We do everything that we can to help a person get better and to get on with their life.
Awesome. So could you explain your story and or your personal journey of faith and how you believe you have felt called into this role at the Union Gospel Mission?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I grew up in Hawaii and moved to Los Angeles and ended up in a gang. I came to Jesus on a toilet. I was reading the Bible one day, and I was looking at 25 years in prison, and I know I needed to change. I was addicted. I was an alcoholic. I hated life. I hated people. And one day I just read the Bible, literally smoked the Bible. Back in those days, I was able to put tobacco in it, and I used those papers to smoke the Bible. But I read every page that I smoked. And so literally I inhaled the word of God. And then I started believing that there is a God. So in that day, there's one day, March 17th, I said, God, if you exist, change me, make me happy. And the next day I woke up, I was happy. I didn't have, I don't know, it's weird. So I realized that there had to be a God because I was a different person. So then my journey began. I wasn't, after I discovered who God was, I wasn't the best person ever. I still sucked. And I was just getting better. So I was doing my life better every day, trying to get better. But it wasn't until I was later in my 20s that I was like, okay, there's more to life than just money and me and greed. And so then I started changing and serving people, helping people. So my biggest thing was, how can I help people get better? How can I help people elevate and have something better in their life to help them gain and to get out of this gap that people live in? And so what I mean about the gap, Zach, is that the gap theory is that you always have these great ideas. You're like, man, this would be great if I could do this. And then we get to that point where we never get to that great idea. We're always searching for the great idea. So what I started doing in my life is like, wow, what did I learn 6 months ago? What I learned a week ago. How is that? How do I gain from that? What kind of thing can I have in my life that I'm learning and moving forward every day without having to worry about tomorrow? Just today, just do today. And then what do I learn in the process of getting to today? And then really focusing on that.
Wow, that's what a story. Um, so um how has your faith, morals, beliefs changed, grown, or evolved while being able to be involved with the Union Gospel Mission and serving the marginalized, the homeless, or the less fortunate in the community?
Yeah, so it's changed me. I used to fly around the world and helping companies and helping people different jobs. And it was humbling to I retired at 50 and then I ended up taking this job at the Union Gospel Mission and trying to figure out, well, how can I help people better? But I see people's situations that were not quite as far from mine. And so I said to myself, how can I help them become stable when they're alcoholics? How can I, when they're drug addicts, how can I get them better? And so my heart went out to not only them, but to the kids that they were raising, right? So for me, it was more about the kids than it was about the adult because it's not the kids' problem that they are in homelessness. It's the parents' issue, not the kids' issue. So my heart started focusing on how can I help kids better? How can I make sure these mom and dads are better so their kids can graduate high school, their kids can go to college, their kids can learn how to read, they can get out of this homelessness thing and this circle of life where they maybe will do better in life and they won't do drugs.
Yeah, awesome. So you kind of briefly mentioned this, and I asked my dad about this, and you went and like went on tours with bands and stuff.
Yep.
I in the here in the Broken Worship podcast, we go into music and stuff. Could you kind of go what bands and how some of those experiences?
Oh yeah. So I used to be a road pastor for several bands that were out there. And so we would go from place to place doing
Success, Eric.
so we'll be doing travel with bands like Newsboys, Phil Joel, people like that. And just travel around with them and just helping them during the kind of the opener, stuff like that. So um anything I can do to help them achieve what they need to achieve. So it's basically road pastoring and talking to the public. There's so many bands, Winter Jam, a bunch of other things that we've done, from POD to Skillet to all the big bands. And, they're great guys. All of them just love the Lord and they're just trying to serve. But that's what I kind of did during that time with bands.
Oh, wow, that's incredible. So I have heard this quote from a nonprofit called Heart Support on their YouTube channel, with the quote being, "If you don't have enough compassion, you don't have enough context." We never know someone's full story. We don't know someone's family life and upbringing, trauma that someone has experienced, or just what they are going through spiritually, mentally, or physically, or just anything. So many times, people who have committed crimes or have been addicted to substances or homeless are often blamed or judged without knowing the full story. Many people have not had the privilege or growing up in a loving home with loving and supportive parents that can guide them. Many people have experienced some kind of abuse, whether that be physical, sexual, or verbal, or just or anything, and they can't express what they have gone through. I believe it is so important that the Union Gospel Mission not only shares with them love and care when many of the people who may have never experienced love or care, but also is teaching them self-worth and building their self-esteems by teaching them skills and helping them get employment and working towards being able to afford housing. Can you attest to this, and can you give examples of how having context or getting to know individuals that face homelessness has created compassion?
Yeah, so I'm a Christian. That's who I identify as, and but I don't hate anybody. My job is not to save anybody. My job is to love everybody. And so I don't care if you're LGBT, elemental P, I don't care what your background is. I don't even care if you're an atheist or you're a Satanist. I'm going to love you anyways. Um, because that's not, I don't have to go and like judge you, but I get to love you. And so with loving people and hearing their stories, I call it gospel listening. More people go out and they try to use their mouth to tell people about Jesus instead of listening to their story and inputting Jesus. So I'm about a gospel listening, and that's like hearing their story, listening. And that's what we have ears for, is ears to hear. Right. And so God has given us two of them so we can hear better than using this thing, right? One mouth, two ears. And so as we do listen to people's stories, you can really see the hurt and the and how they're transitioning, and they hate their father, they hate their mother, they might have been raped by their father or cousins or uncles or whatever, and that's sexual stuff that's deep and cuts. And so sometimes people are stuck at 10 years old, 8 years old, and they're stuck in that because that's when their abuse happened. And so when they're stuck in those times, it's like, well, how do we deal with that? How do we get them out of it? How do we bring them into stability of not going back to that when they're angry, going back to that 8-year-old or that 10-year-old or that 14-year-old and throwing temper tantrums? How can we get them to deal with the situation, lovingly move them forward? And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to help people to move forward in like really just with compassion and with like understanding and time. People's stories take time. Everybody out there on the World Wide Web, on the internet, on TikTok, whatever it is, everybody has a story. And everybody, some way, someplace has trauma in that story. Well, how can we listen? How can we hear that trauma? And how can we help them get out of that? Right? How can we get them moving forward to learn the lesson to move them forward to the game?
Awesome. Um, okay, so there is a saying that goes, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. Our country is unfortunately very divided politically concerning politics and homelessness. The political left tends to seem to be more compassionate towards the poor and the homeless. They lean more towards giving the poor handouts and free stuff. The political right can often seem less compassionate about the poor and the homeless, as they tend to be more fiscally conservative and thinks that people should work harder to earn their way of life. From my understanding of what you guys do with the Union Gospel Mission, I believe that what your organization does is not only meeting people's needs, but also teaching them how to be able to move forward with their employment, housing, and a better life. With your experience, what would you say is the most productive way to serve the homeless community or homeless individuals?
Come down and volunteer. What we do is we feed them, and we don't just feed homeless, we feed anybody. If you're hungry, come eat. If you need clothes, come get it. Like, we get donations, we give it right back out. We don't make a lot of money on our thrift store. Our thrift store is a loser, but we give those clothes away to people that need them. we are about bringing stability and helping people. We have case managers, we have CHW community health workers, and we help people get insurance that don't have insurance, and we get people that get housing that don't have housing. And so I don't believe that housing first works. People are like, oh, just put them in a house and tell them to get a job. That's a bunch of crap. It's not about getting them a job or getting them a house. It's about getting them stable. It's about getting them better and well enough and healthy enough where they can think through problems on their own, where they're not going to go back into their addiction. So I fight a lot with people and we argue this point. They're like, housing first, it works. No, it doesn't work. A job doesn't work either. Getting better and helping yourself to get right with you is the best thing that we can do. So we work hard at helping people become stable within themselves and become whole and be like, I'm okay with me. And then they can move on from there, right? So there's a lot of people that are struggling with addiction. There's a lot of people struggling with life choices and just bad choices and incarceration and all those things. You can't just get a job and fix all that crap. It doesn't work. You have to fix your heart first. You have to fix your mind first. So we have a program here where you come into the mission for 6 months and you just work on you. You work on getting better with yourself, and then we give you the tools to get better.
That is really powerful, and I think a lot of people need to hear that. So
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's so okay, next thing. In America, I believe it is comfortable to say that you are a Christian and even go to church on Sundays. I believe a lot of Christians live a pretty comfortable life, getting married, having family and kids, and pursuing a career. I don't believe that there is anything wrong with having a family and having a career, but I believe that Jesus never promised a comfortable life. We are told to pick up our cross and follow him daily. With broken worship, I feel called to challenge the church to go back to the fundamentals of the greatest commandment. I believe there is so much political and religious division, and people are turning away from Christ because how he is being represented. We are called to love God with all that we are and love our neighbors as ourselves. There are so many examples throughout scriptures of the radical and vital importance of loving the marginalized, the homeless, the orphan, the widow, etc. I believe that there are so many Christians that get so wrapped up into their lives and within their churches and even wrapped up into theological and political division instead of focusing on scriptures and the fundamentals of the greatest commandment. Do you have any words of encouragement or words of wisdom for the Christian community in regards of service and loving the marginalized community?
Yeah. So love yourself first. Then you're able to love others. But if you're angry at yourself and you're not forgiving yourself for something that happened to you or something you did to somebody else, that's toxic. Get rid of it. Going to church doesn't make you a Christian, just like going to McDonald's doesn't make me a Big Mac. It's not going to the place or being at the place. It's what you believe in your heart. It's what you do outwardly, showing people kindness, gentleness, love, self-control, all those things, right? But my biggest thing for even your podcast here and through the viewers here is you love people unconditionally because everybody screws up and we have to find this forgiveness. Like Christians are quick not to forgive, which the Bible says, if you don't forgive, I ain't forgiving you. That comes from the mouth of Jesus himself. And yet Christians are like, well, I'm not going to forgive them because they stole from me or they talk bad about me. That's a bunch of crap. I think what that is it's 21st. It's the way Christians do things today. And not all of them. Let's not put them all in the box. But we got comfortable. So get uncomfortable, forgive one another, and you know what? Go make amends with the people that hate you. Or if you have enemies, go fix it. I used to say, hey, we're having a concert next week, and I want you to invite your friends and your enemies and come to our concert. Come and hang out with us. Like, come do these things. Invite your enemies to the table and figure it out. Let's work together to get better, right? A lot of people and a lot of times are too chicken to do that. And they're like, well, or too prideful, right? So if you're out there, you're a believer and you're mad at somebody, make it right, get it fixed, And so, and if you're mad at your church, and if you go to church somewhere and you're like, well, that church, you know, um, it's not about the church. It's about God. It's who God is, who he is in your life, and what has he done? And what do you get to do because of it? And it's not what you believe, Zach. There's so many people in our world knows what they believe about God. But what is it that Christians don't believe about God that he promises and that he says in his word that we don't believe? So I don't care what a Christian believes. I want to know what they disbelieve. And what is the disbelief and why are they so disconnected with doing the right thing? So with helping homeless, just come down, come visit, go see them. Not every homeless guy is going to be like, "Ooh, that guy's awesome." No, they got troubles, they got anxiety, they got stuff going on. But be safe. Don't do it alone. Do it in a group and figure it out.
Awesome. That's powerful. Okay. So my wife works for an organization that works with disabled individuals in Sioux Falls. I know that every group of people faces some stereotypes and so that goes along with disabled individuals as well as homeless individuals. My wife has had the privilege to spend a lot of time and gets to know and build relationships with these disabled individuals, and she gets to see the real life versions of them. They are amazing individuals that do face challenges, but they are real people. They have real aspirations, real emotions, and they deserve to be treated with as much respect as anyone else. My wife gets to experience who they really are. She sees them on their good days and their bad days. Just like everyone, they can get on your nerves and you can get on their nerves. They get their feelings hurt and they can hurt your feelings, but they also can be so loving and caring, and they love getting to know you. I know that there are many stereotypes about homeless people, but as you spend time with them and you build relationships with them, I'm sure you have some awesome and impactful stories. Would you be able to be willing to share some real life experiences with the listeners, with some of the people you have had the privilege to have build a relationship with them?
Yeah. So 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when I came here, we had a girl. Her name's Rochelle, and she was homeless and she was struggling with addiction and a bunch of other stuff. And I built a relationship with her through a bunch of other people. And I always say it takes a village to help a person. So it's not just me; it's all of us, a team working together. Um, so fast forward, she got better. We offered her a job. She started working with people and got better. And to this day, she is my case management manager for the mission. So from homelessness to a manager, right? And
Wow.
doing life like awesome. And she had some like addiction issues. She had stuff going on in her life, but she got over herself, got over the addiction and started doing better. Now she's helping other people and she loves it. So now she's addicted to helping people instead of drugs. So it's like, if you just give them a chance, if you give people a chance to prove themselves, I think what happens is that we don't trust people enough to give them a chance. And so, what I want to do and what we do here is we trust you and we give you chances. We're all about chances. We're all about fixing your crap. We're all about fixing your stuff. Let's fix it and let's get better together, right? Better together instead of doing this alone. You're not alone. So, any of your viewers out there, if you need help, come to the mission. Anybody at TikTok, if you need help, come to me. I got you. Like, we'll figure it out together. If you put more minds together, um, we just become better. And so, how do we help one another? We're never put on this earth to be alone. And when you have mental illness or you have anxiety or depression, those things can be beaten because, and here's what I'm going to tell you: if you're depressed, you're thinking about yesterday. If you have anxiety, you're thinking about tomorrow. If you want to be normal, just do today. Just do today.
Awesome. Um, so I know that there are many challenges that come alongside ministry. I know that with the Union Gospel Mission, you guys faced a huge challenge the day after Christmas in 2022 with a pipe burst from a winter storm that estimated repairs were $100,000.
Yeah, that's $450,000.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
can you share a little bit about the challenges that your organization faced with that, as well as any other challenges that you have dealt with? And also, can you share how you experiences God's hand and God's love through these challenges?
Well, 2019, when I came to the mission, we opened up the books and we had $38,000 in the bank. And I was like, what? We had our bills were $68,000 a month. We had $38,000 a month. We couldn't even pay payroll. So they were bouncing payroll checks. So that was in 2019, December of 2019. By the time, because of the community and because of friends that I had, we were able to raise about $300,000 in that time before 2020 and get the mission out of debt. So we were able to like do that and pay our employees and get better. So then when the pipe burst, that was a big deficit. That was like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? But the community came together. There's a lot of superheroes in our community that came together to help us out. And we got it done. We got it opened up. We got back to normal within a month. 45,000 gallons of water burst that went through this mission. Water is horrible. And so, but we got it cleaned up, we got it fixed, and we just started, but the community showed up and God stepped up because God brought those people. So there's a lot of people that are in love with the Lord that want to help and make sure people are good. And we didn't miss a beat. We figured it all out. We're back open in a month. Yeah, it was really good. You can see God's hand on that because even to this day, we're struggling a little bit as a mission because we have a lot of people working and we're doing more things and more case management. And all donations are always welcome. That's kind of what we say, that anything helps. We get food donations. Our budget for food is $190,000 a year. Because we feed 150,000 people a year.
Wow.
So, that's a lot of people that we feed, and we feed them good too. So we don't just feed them junk. Like I don't like goop. I like to make sure that we're getting good food out there. And so where it's edible and eatable. So yeah.
Awesome. Is there anything else that you would like to share or add to the conversation with the Union Gospel Mission? If anyone who is listening would like to help support or get involved with the Union Gospel Mission, what is the best way to do so?
Yeah, just contact us at ugmsiouxfalls.com. So it's ugmsiouxfalls.com. Just get a hold of us. We have opportunities everywhere to come and serve, bring your friends, come and hang out. Let's do stuff together. It's not about me. It's about our team. It's about people that are in need. You can donate clothes to our thrift store. Bring it down. We can use it because we'll give it away. Shoes, food. You have 800 granola bars. Bring them down. We can use those. And so I know that your podcast goes out to a lot of people, and it's and there's a lot of brokenness out there, and there's a lot of people that don't feel good in church. But we have chapel here 7 days a week at 7. So you can come join our chapel. But my biggest thing is with the group that listens to you, and not only that, just people that are listening all over the place. You don't need a church to love God, but you need a church to love people. Do you hear that?
That's powerful.
You don't need a church to love God, but you need a church to love people. So I think sometimes we get that miscrossed because you think that, and the only way that I can love God is by going to church. Nuh-uh. No, it's not. You can go to church and you can totally not love God, but you're just there. If you can find a way to just love God and then love people and don't worry about what you're going to do next, God will figure it out for you. But focus on that relationship with God and not the relationship with a church. Because there's so many people that worry about the church, but God is not a church. God is the church, the big C, not the little c. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Awesome. And I will make sure to have that website and that information in the description below. Before we start wrapping up, I wanted to share this poem from my new book, My Faith Will Not Be Safe. So I just wanted to share this poem. This poem is called Hypocrite. At best, I'm a hypocrite. It's so easy to say we love God while singing a few hymns, but Jesus called us to leave everything behind and follow him. We are told to carry our cross. We will never know the true cost. Building our lives up and worrying about the future, investing in ourselves while being yet another blind consumer. We say we want our lives to matter while just being a lost sheep following the worldly master. We never want for anything as we hold the world at our fingertips. We whine about full-time jobs as we sit on our sit on our couches and eat potato chips. Our lives are fully devoted to convenience, and if something doesn't go our way, we make appointments with our therapists. Why is it that when we have everything that we need, we as humans are the most miserable of beings? We have everything we need and more, but still impatient to hold out for what's in store. Our house isn't big enough. Our car isn't fast enough. Our family isn't loving enough. Our lives aren't fulfilled enough. We tell ourselves that we are inherently good enough. We go around with sayings like, one man's junk is another man's treasure, as if giving away our shit makes our souls any better. We toss out judgment when others don't live the same, as if we are not the ones with blame. We go to war and claim it's for world peace. Let's all point the finger at the Middle East. People die at the hands of religious freedom. Oh, how far we are from the Garden of Eden. We see the homeless on our city streets and petition to end panhandling, yet we don't blink an eye when the elites are financially scamming, blaming the corruption of society on the Republicans or Democrats, while the wallets of the elites continue getting fat. Don't get me wrong, I too am a victim of the system. I'm guilty of living for myself rather than seeking God's wisdom. Rather than living by faith, I am consumed by fear and doubt. Due to my own sin, I am far from devout. God, would you please rain down your grace? Renew us in the light of your ways. Enlighten us in conviction. Free us from our addictions. Heal our hearts. Remind us of who you are. God, please, before it's too late, restore me in your grace. I know that I'll never be perfect. At best, I'm a hypocrite. Thank you.
It's good, man. Awesome.
Thank you.
Very good.
I want to thank you guys for being here, and thank you for everyone viewing with Eric's TikTok. Unfortunately, I'm not on TikTok, but
Eric Pineapple, if you guys are
yeah.
out there, just get on TikTok.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, Eric, thank you so much. It's been a privilege to having me here and having you on the podcast. I want to thank you for tuning into this episode of the Broken Worship Podcast. If you would like to help support Broken Worship, I would love it if you would check out the Broken Worship website, which is www.broken-worship.com. All 6 of my published books, as well as dope Broken Worship merch, are all available on the Broken Worship website. Another easy way to support Broken Worship and to stay up to date with all things new for Broken Worship, please like, share, and subscribe on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify. All of this information will be provided in the description below. Thanks again for tuning in, and I love you all. Here in the Broken Worship community, we remember, even in our brokenness, we have a reason to worship. Thank you, and God bless.